talking to one of my favorite people, Nick Pierce, here on the Sports Buffet podcast. Liberty Flames head down to Arkansas this weekend for a big showdown against the Razorbacks. And before we talk about that, Nick, big news out of off the mountain this week with Hugh Freeze signing a contract extension. What does it mean?
Means that he is extended through 2030. It means there's 2 more years on that contract now. And look, it means that Liberty has sent a clear message that it is committed to the momentum in this football program that's been established since Hugh Freeze took over. And they're committed to doing everything in their power to keep him here and keep him happy and reward him for the job that he's done. Look, that win against BYU meant a lot of things to a lot of people. And a lot of those people were on campus either that night or in the days following. Specifically, looking at some of the folks in the Board of Regents that were here in the days following that game. And it wasn't a coincidence that those folks were convening here on campus. And, obviously they felt, and Ian McCall and everyone involved in the decision felt that it was in the best interest to try to, sweeten the pot a little bit, if you will, and reward Hugh Freeze and his coaches, because his staff, as I understand, got a raise too, reward them for the job that they've done, not just beating BYU and helping advance the vision of Dr. Jerry Falwell Sr., but also when you look at the fact that the Flames have won 3 bowl games in each of the last 3 years, in their first 3 years of bowl eligibility, some of the wins that they've picked up, and the reality is that this team's on pace to have a really special season right now at 7-1, and they've done it with 3 different starting quarterbacks. I mean, there was a stat going into that BYU game, and I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. I think there were 6 schools in FBS football that had started 3 or more quarterbacks. Rutgers had started 4, and Liberty was the only one of those 6 that had a winning record.
Wow.
So it really speaks to what the Flames have been able to do in spite of some adversity, and clearly Liberty feels like in Hugh Freeze they've got the right man for the job.
Now, is that 6 quarterback or 6 schools this year started more than 3 quarterbacks?
Yes, that's correct.
I will bet you if you went back into let's say since I've been born, which goes 1979, I will bet you if you go 1979 to present, if you tried to find a school that had had 3 quarterbacks win a game and was over 500, I think you're in a very small number. Very small number.
I would agree with that too. That's especially in today's game, yep. and even go back to when you're talking about those 70s and 80s. When, rushing attacks tended to dominate more at that time, you could probably sneak by a little easier. Nowadays, if you don't have a trigger man, you're in bad shape. So the fact that the Flames have been able to pull that off is nothing short of remarkable.
Are they I don't want to say favorite, but can they go down to Arkansas and win this football game?
The players and the coaches are certainly going to believe that they can. Will they? They're certainly not expected to. Arkansas, at last check, 13.5-point favorite coming into this game. And look, Coach Freeze was pretty candid about it. He said the other day, look, they've got better players and probably better coaches. He followed that up as well, which I thought was kind of funny. But Arkansas is in the SEC, and they've done it at a high level many years, many times over for a reason. And you look at their roster and you look at some of the playmakers they have. It's going to be a tall task, but this Flames team has gone into games where they've been a little bit outgunned, if you will. They faced bigger offensive linemen, bigger defensive linemen in that BYU game, and look what the scoreboard said at the end. Now, I'm not comparing BYU's athletes to Arkansas. In fact, if you look at the game where those two met, Arkansas won by, I think, 3 scores. So it's another step up. It's another level. But I don't think that there's any pressure on Liberty to go win this football game either. It's one of those things where if you can go in there and compete and show well, I think you feel pretty good about yourself. And if you win it, oh boy, that might be the only thing that can top what the party on the mountain was here a couple weeks ago.
Who's the best Flames football player this year that we don't talk about?
the best player from this year that we're not talking about?
Correct.
You always ask me these deep intellectual questions that I'm not prepared for. But I appreciate that. You make me think.
Ain't just you, buddy.
The best player that we're not talking about. You know what? One guy that comes to mind here over the last couple of weeks is Preston Hodge, young defensive back that's gotten some time here out on the field. I don't know if I'd say he's the best player we're not talking about, but he's done some things to impress, and he continues to get some more playing time. You know, I mean, maybe some of these the tight ends and the offensive line. You know, we don't really talk about the offensive line more than a unit itself. They've had improvement this year, certainly in pass blocking. They're probably not where they want to be yet, but they're certainly a far cry better than what they were last year, and they've done some good things in the run game as well.
Yeah, and I'll throw out a guy who I think is pretty doggone important is Austin Mott. I mean, he doesn't get probably as much playing time as most people would, but hey, that long snapper is super important.
Well, while we're on that topic, you know what? I've got a better answer for you. How about Aiden Alvis and the job that he's done at the punting position? I mean, that's one that, you know, we don't always cheer when the punter comes onto the football field, but man, has he flipped the game in some situations with field position, and he's done a tremendous job back there. I think he's averaging over 40 yards a punt, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 42 yards per punt, which is just outstanding work. So, yeah, that's always a safe bet. Go to the long snapper or the punter, the guys that are getting talked about. But you're absolutely right. Austin Mock has solidified that long snapper position, kind of continued on the tradition there, and then Aiden Alvis has done a great job at the punting spot.
Who did Arkansas beat last week?
Auburn.
Seems to me they were in the news earlier this week.
Auburn?
I think you probably get where I'm going here.
Yeah.
Has this talk got to stop? I mean, at some point, is that what the contract extension was also there for?
I don't think it's going to stop. I mean, that's just not the nature of what we live in. And look, as long as Hugh Freeze keeps winning football games, and deservedly so, his name is going to continue to come up in these conversations for what is going to be his next stop on his coaching career. Look, if Auburn really wants Hugh Freeze to be their head coach, and if Hugh Freeze really wants to go be Auburn's head coach, then it'll probably happen. But I'm not convinced that either or both of those two things are true. And both of those things have to be true for it to happen. I'm not saying that they aren't, but I'm not convinced that they are. And so for now, you know, I don't know. And look, there's a lot of other qualified names that are out there too. I mean, it's really just going to have to be a wait and see thing.
Well, I'm not a big fan. Well, I shouldn't say I'm not a big fan. I'm a real big fan of money. I just don't know a lot about it because I don't have a lot of it. But, you know, SEC schools do. And I think Gus Malzahn was bought out for like $21 million. Then you had to hire the guy they had, Harston, I believe it was his name. And now that you fired him, so Auburn's, I don't want to say they're running out of money, but the money
they're not.
I know that, but I'm just saying the money tree cannot be everlasting to where we can write blank checks, I would think.
Well, you would certainly hope not from an administrative standpoint. You know, they've got a new athletics director in there now, and, you know, I don't know what all the buyout totals are and all that stuff, but it'll be interesting to see the direction they go. You know, a Mississippi State guy taking over the AD spot, and ironically, we're talking about two Ole Miss guys and Hugh Freeze, and then I even heard Lane Kiffin's name out there the other day that are rumored to be possibilities there. The Lane Kiffin one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why would you just jump schools in the same division? And Lane's already making, I want to say, over $7 million at Ole Miss, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know how much more they could sweeten the pot for him. Matt Rule, I think that's the guy. Matt Rule was another name that I've heard. I don't know, and maybe he is the guy, but I don't know what is there a lot of difference in Auburn and Ole Miss right now in terms of, as long as Nick Saban's still in the SEC West, is there a whole lot of difference in one SEC West job to the other? I don't know.
I think Lane Kiffin's going to take that job, but that's for another podcast.
Just a gut feeling.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the names I had read were Kiffin, Hugh. Every time a job comes open, too, there's another name that's mentioned, and I will say I think Hugh Freeze is more qualified than Deion Sanders on some of these jobs. But Deion Sanders' name is going to get thrown out.
Make no mistake, Coach Prime is going to get an opportunity in the Power 5 sooner than later. Now, I think the one you probably ought to keep an eye on there is if Mike Norvell can't get the ship righted at Florida State in the near future, another year or two, you might see Coach Prime heading back to Tallahassee.
Yeah, and I mean, the coaching, we'll again get you on a different podcast to talk about the coaching carousel, but I mean, I think you have 5 or 6 P5 jobs open right now, if memory serves me correctly. Everybody talks about Lance Leipold leaving Kansas for another P5 job. Well, that's going to open up another P5 job. And I get Kansas is, probably not a desirable destination for a ton of people. But, Power 5 jobs just don't grow on trees. I mean, they call them Power 5 for a reason.
Yeah, but the one thing Lance Leipold has done is shown that you can win there if you have the right strategy or the right whatever in place. So, it might attract someone that of maybe like a young coaching, up-and-comer or somebody like that. I don't know. But Leipold is certainly a name that's getting thrown out there a little bit too.
Let's end it on a Liberty question. Bowl projection. I mean, it's getting late early here. Where do you think you'll be spending your holiday season?
I don't know. I was looking at, and I've seen some of the projections too. I think Myrtle Beach is one I've seen out there. I've seen New Mexico out there. I want to say I saw Shreveport, the Independence Bowl out there. Usually it ends up being one of the ones that they're not talking about, though. So,
is Liberty at the point yet to where the Cure Bowl or somebody like that would take them again in such a short span?
Sure, I think they would. The Cure Bowl, I can tell you just, working with them a little bit directly over a couple of years, the Cure Bowl loves Liberty and loves the draw, loves working with Liberty, and I think the feeling was mutual there. So, yeah, I think that's one of many possibilities for the Flames coming up here. Just selfishly looking at some of, the Pinstripe Bowl is kind of intriguing to me. I'd love a reason to go to Yankee Stadium as a baseball guy, even if it's to play a football game in late December. But I think there's several of them out there that are kind of intriguing. You're probably looking at that week of Christmas, weekend before Christmas, or maybe up to the middle of the week after Christmas, just depending on how well the season goes. I mean, right now you're 7-1, 10-2 is attainable. And if you wind up with that kind of a record and you're at the end of the year and, I mean, it could be a really special bowl season here for the Flames too. Who knows?